I created a routine that'll give you aimbot. This is the 4BK Aimbot Routines, and it's a complete flicking overhaul. And I basically copied the HNA routines, but I found one massive problems with them. Yes, they've helped thousands of people, but they only work your overflicking. What if someone with over 1,000 hours in aim trainers have created literally hundreds of playlists can make something better? Firstly, I want to go over the days, what you should focus on, and how they're good for your aim. Now, my biggest gripe with the HNA routines is that they only really helped one form of people, and that's those people who had over-flicking issue. While that's great, you can't really use that for any game. So I took the approach similarly to how I did with my FAR routine, which is to increase your overall mouse control rather than hyperfixate on a specific issue. We're splitting 3 days into 6 different aim fields, so whatever game you're playing, you can just hop in and feel super confident. And I really recommend you guys to watch the end because you might actually learn something on how I created this and make it for yourself. So day 1 and the HNA routines are the one that actually helped most people, so naturally they're the most important ones. Now we have a similar goal here, which is to fix those overflicking issues. The problem is that he had a big issue in his routine, and that is focusing too much on wide flicks. Yes, wide flicks are pretty good, but they have a massive issue. You're only flicking every 1 or 2 seconds. So what I went ahead and done is put the bots closer to each other. That way you're working both speed due to how close they are to each other and accuracy because of the size of the bot. So now in the new routines, you're actually going to be flicking way more, which is going to be more practice. And that is actually the biggest change. And after testing this a lot with other people, including myself, I found that a lot of people found a way snappier aim like this. And it really seemed to help people to have the bots clustered together. So after we experimented with this idea of having them closer together, we had people playtest all of them, and we universally found massive improvements the more targets were on screen. So day 1 is going to be focusing more on accuracy and smoothness, but we're doing it in a much more effective way since we're also including speed due to the bots being clumped together. I've also purposely made it so that the bots are always spawning in front of you. This way you don't need to change sends, FOV, or anything similar like that. You can just go ahead and play. Day 2 and 3 always felt super lackluster because it's like you try to over-fixate on the over-flicking part, which is why day 2 might actually be the most different one because we're focusing on pure speed here, which is something that the HNA routine didn't really do. He sort of over-fixated purely on not over-flicking, and I'm trying to rewire your entire flicking game. That's the big difference. So we go for pure speed, which is basically a proven way to increase your mouse control across games. Alongside this, we're focusing on fast strafes and regen. But why are these two combined? And I'll answer. Well, it's quite simple. You work your tension management, that is your reactive, and then you work your relaxation, that is your regen tracking. That way you're getting tension management, but at the same time smoothing out your wrist afterward. Day 3 is probably the most important one because it focuses on evasive TS and evasive tracking. Why is this different? Simple. In games that only require a little bit of tracking and the enemies often do slight changes of movement compared to games like Apex or Overwatch, but that doesn't mean there's no tracking at all. It's quite the opposite. These games require a lot of tracking. It's just different from tracking like Apex or Overwatch, where there's larger and quicker changes in movement. Games like Battlefield and COD basically have a smoothness pattern with minuscule changes in direction, exactly as evasive is. So the TS part is essentially for tracking cleanly after our flicking. So now you've learned how to flick accurately, flick fast, and lastly how to flick and track together. So what games are these routines made for? And it's made for all games. Yes, even non-flick heavy games like Overwatch or CS have all been put into mind. These playlists work great for any game, so you don't have to worry about stuff like that. Just go into your game and do your best. They take roughly 50 minutes to an hour to complete. What sense, FOV, or settings should I use? I use 103 Overwatch, the same sense, same theme, and same crosshair for whatever I'm doing. All you're doing when you're switching out stuff is hurting yourself by messing with variables that don't have an effect on your aim and are often placebos who will give you short-term benefit. Often these things don't give you an actual benefit, and by switching out sensitivity, for example, all you're doing is switching out different weaknesses and strengths. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed my aimbot routines. Do consider liking the video, subbing, joining my Discord for aim coaching. Done.